It's always been that. Like, whenever somebody goes, hey, but this bill only does X, Y, and Z, it's always valid to ask, okay, but when do the bills end? When do they stop? When does the actual conversation about how many rights you're willing to strip away from trans people, when does that conversation end? Or does it keep on going until you've eliminated them? It is unfortunately time to talk about Ron DeSantis. Wow, my cats literally ran out of the room as soon as I said his name. That should tell you everything you need to know. That's it. And yes, Nova did help with giving me this topic. We were in the car and he just sent this one to me over Discord. So that's a thing that's going to be happening today. So, but first, before we talk about what Ron DeSantis is trying to do in Florida, because he's always trying to do something new there, let's get into the fan art section. This first one is from Jet Fatigue. It says, hair epilogue. Finally. My hair is back after those traitors tried to eat me. So for those who don't know, there's this fan art that is needed for context here, where apparently Blizzy eats my hair and then Nova eats my hair, despite the fact that Nova's the only one who's lost hair since being here, and then whole Chan eating my hair. So apparently the hair grew back eventually. Kitsune Cavalier, I swear to fucking God. What is wrong with you? But fine. Thank you for redeeming 50,001 channel points. Oh, whoa. There. You happy? Are you thrilled? John Fallon, thank you for redeeming an oh, whoa. Thank you for being on the right side of history. Thank you. Then the comic continues. What? What's that? So, my roommate's cat, Jessica, apparently was found chewing on my hair. The next piece of fan art is also from Jet, and it's me and Nova staring at the end of Evangelion, but it's Slime Suris. I told them not to let him out. I have a feeling this stream is going to lead to a lot more fan art like this. As always, everybody, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. That said, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon, all the other fun stuff. But let's go ahead and get into the actual article at hand. Ron DeSantis has requested the information of trans students who sought care at Florida's public universities. Ron, why do you need that information? Why do you need that? The fuck is wrong with you? So as we were saying, Ron DeSantis requested the information of trans students who sought care at Florida's public universities. New students are planning a statewide walkout. Students across Florida are planning a walkout after Ron DeSantis requested all public universities comply in delivering data from student health services on transgender students who sought gender-affirming care at institutions. DeSantis asked to see anonymized information of any student who had experienced gender dysphoria in the past 5 years. In addition, he wants their ages and the dates they received gender-affirming care. The deadline to submit those records was February 10th. Insider has confirmed that University of Florida, Florida State University, University of Central Florida, and a bunch of other names that you can read right here if you want, because I'm not going over all of them, have complied with the request, but he has yet to hear back from the rest. Students at these universities are now planning rallies for the next week, along with the statewide walkout on February 23rd. Ben Braver, a junior at University of South Florida and the outreach officer for the school's college Democrats chapter, is leading the initiative known as the Stand for Freedom Florida Walkout. Guys, I'm curious. Why is any of this information from adults and late teens, why is any of this information DeSantis's business? Why does it matter? Like, I refuse to believe that anybody that is as obsessed with LGBTQ hate as DeSantis is going to do anything positive with that information. So I think stream element commands are repeating. Yeah, they might be. So isn't that a HIPAA violation? Like, demanding such info is actually quite illegal? I don't know. So why do universities have this information in the first place? Because if you're a student at a university and you seek gender-affirming care and you talk to a counselor that is on the university campus, then it'll be in their records at that point. So, well, Roe v. Wade is overturned, so HIPAA is kind of dead in the water. Yeah, Roe v. Wade, like, HIPAA relies on right to privacy, and Roe v. Wade has been thrown out, so now how else can he start the death camp, silly? Hi, Nami. Now I understand. I get it now. I see it. Guy the Vulture says trans people said from the very beginning of this nonsense they weren't going to stop at stopping minors from accessing care. Yep, it's always been that. Like, whenever somebody goes, hey, but this bill only does X, Y, and Z, it's always valid to ask, okay, but when do the bills end? When do they stop? When does the actual conversation about how many rights you're willing to strip away from trans people, when does that conversation end? Or does it keep on going until you've eliminated them? And I think that's the point we need to talk about. Is this thing specifically trans genocide, TM? No, it's not. But it doesn't have to. It merely has to be a step. And if all the steps that can possibly be taken are not taken, it doesn't mean steps weren't taken. We did a whole video on the 10 steps to genocide. If you want to go watch that video, please just search it up. We've done that video twice, actually, covering 2 separate parts in the American timeline. So I'm sorry if you think that things are just hunky-dory for trans people because you see people being affirming on twitter.com. That is not the reality for a lot of trans people. There are people who I care about a shit ton who are trans and cannot come out publicly where they live because they're conservative-infested zones where you can risk yourself getting beat up, stabbed, mugged, or anything else if your name is out there attached to that label. But let's continue here. Hate is spread when it's innocuous, when it seems silly, and when it seems like taking a stand is an overreaction, Braver told Insider. We, just like any generation, need to stand for the civil rights that have already been fought for, the ones that have been won, and the ones that are at the stake right now. Andy Pham, a senior and long-standing member of the University of South Florida's Trans Plus Students Union, said that he sees the state's move as a direct attack on trans rights. So they want to legislate us out of existence. That starts with attacking our healthcare, attacking our right to exist in public spaces, attempting surveillance, all of that. Again, we went over that in the 10 Steps to Genocide video. In January, 20 students at the university held a rally protesting DeSantis' request. They then started an online petition asking schools administration not to submit the medical information. The petition received over 2,600 signatures, but officials said the school said they plan to send over records anyway. Insider hasn't been able to confirm whether the University of South Florida sent over the data. Man, do you remember when we mostly protested with bricks? Do you remember when we did that? God, would be a real shame if we went back to doing that. Anyways, Lawless Ren, thank you for the follow. As a state university, USF has an obligation to be responsive to requests from our elected officials, the university said in a statement. However, the university will not provide information that identifies an individual patient or violates their privacy laws. So I will say this. To do the whole, like, we have an obligation to be responsive to requests from our elected officials, I understand the sentiment. It's a cucked one, so please stop. But, you know, among those signing on to support the walkout are Dream Defenders, Florida College Democrats, state lawmaker Anna Escamani, and a 26-year-old Congresswoman Maxwell Frost. The governor's abusing his power, Frost told Insider. He's targeting folks that disagree with him, people who might not see eye to eye with him, marginalized communities. When Insider asked why the state has requested the health data of transgender college students, the state's deputy press secretary referred to DeSantis' second inaugural address, in which the governor said that we are fully committed to understanding the amount of public funding that is going towards such non-academic pursuits to best assess how to get our colleges and universities refocused on education and truth. So he's literally just talking about removing healthcare and removing education in regards to trans people. That's what he's talking about. That's what this is, because he thinks they're non-education. The American Civil Liberties Union reports that during this legislative session, Florida lawmakers have introduced 85 bills restricting gender-affirming healthcare, up from 43 bills last year. 85 in Florida. Only in Florida. 85. There are more trans bills in the United States than there are days in the year so far. It's really weird that that's the case. It's the same thing that we had to deal with mass shootings. We're really good at 2 things in America: transphobia and mass shootings. The only people who are better than us at the transphobia thing is probably Turf Island. Escamani said DeSantis should prepare for student backlash. When students see the visual representation of their peers around them standing up and walking out, they're gonna get plugged in and help us fight back. That will happen. Again! I just want to say there was a point in time where protests were done with bricks. I'm not saying whether or not we should go back to that time. I'm just saying that there was a time where protests were done with bricks. more often than not. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Freedom Inc. Thank you for redeeming your points for an Ada. Sorry I didn't catch it earlier. You're still a degenerate. Jack the Vulture says, literally all we want to do is live our lives and get the care necessary to make existing bearable, and they hate us for it. They want us to be miserable and quiet or gone. Yeah, bricks can make people miserable. Enough bricks can make them quiet. I'm not saying do it. Please don't do it. It's just a really weird coincidence. Basically, what I'm saying is there are several types of protests that people feel the need to respond violently to their human rights being taken away. That's what I'm saying. I'm doing the tongue-in-cheek thing for comedy, but realistically, you push a marginalized group back far enough, they will resort to violence. That is a thing that happens historically. Don't push marginalized groups so far that they have to resort to violence. All I'm saying. But, building a brick wall over the doors of DeSantis' house with him inside, that is a thing you can do. It's illegal, but it's a thing you can do. But this is where I gotta throw it back to you guys. What do you think about all of this shit? Because for me, it's gross. It's a gross abuse of DeSantis' power, and none of it should be allowed. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Hit the like button, all the other fun YouTube stuff that you tend to have to do, and unfortunately, yeah, Nova is a person who lives in Florida, so this is a thing he's going to be dealing with. So DeSantis is a fucking tyrant. I wouldn't say he's a tyrant. I would say that he wishes he was one. That said, guys, if you enjoyed the content, do the YouTube things. But past that, insert an end of video tagline here.